You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
ECU, Private Nation, Purple and Gold family, stand to your feet, put your crossbones up, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side, come on, yeah, welcome to the island, man, it's crazy in here, a whole sea of purple and gold waving in here, keep a plank on the Shark Tank, traders beware, because we got a whole bunch of rowdy sailors in here.
You're watching the Pirate Football Playback on The Sports Objective. Join us every Sunday night on our YouTube channel and Facebook Live as we talk East Carolina football. Now, here are the guys.
Welcome into the Pirate Playback, Football Playback. It's right here on The Sports Objective, brought to you by L&K Custom Homes. Want to give a shout out to our good friend Kevin KK Walker, and you can give him a call right now, 336-688-8461. I'm sure he'll, I know it's Sunday night if you're watching live and later than normal for us. Thanks for your patience right now. But give him a call, 336-688-8461. Ladies and gentlemen, the man that's one of my dear friends. We're all on Team Kyle. Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, man?
Well, Dave, I got a big hole in my sternum. You know, it's like somebody just reached in and grabbed something out. But no. Besides that, I'm doing all right. It was a loss. It sucked. We should have won.
Are you filming?
Say again?
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, are you filming Roadhouse 3? You getting a bar fight?
No. Doctor took staples out too early. Wound opened up and spent 12 hours in the ER Friday night and up until Saturday morning. Got there at 8 o'clock Friday night. Went home a little after 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Utterly ridiculous, but it is what it is. So wound still open. Doing a lot of wet to dry dressing. If anybody knows what that is, but nobody wants to hear about all that. Game last night sucked about as bad as that did.
Yeah, it's about as painful as a toothache I have right now. Bubba Rosenbaum, how are you?
I'm doing all right, considering a lot of reflection in the last 24 hours. Looking back at the game, have not really had a chance. I tried to access it on ESPN Plus, was unable to go back and watch it, but did watch 8 or 9 minutes worth of highlights, and so a lot of positives, but then obviously plenty to improve as well.
And all the way in the great state of Connecticut with his dog Carmelo, it's Matt Semenza. What's up, dude?
D. Rich, how's it going? I'm still recovering from last night, but the one thing about being a Pirate is you whether you want to or not, you kind of learn how to be resilient. We've had a number of these tough losses over the years. This one. For me, this is probably the most painful loss we've had. I'll be honest. This is way worse than NC State for me. But hey, you know what? Another opportunity this week, and we'll see if we can bounce back in South Florida.
We can bounce back. Y'all can rewatch it all you want to. I don't want to see any damn thing to do with that game again. That's for the coaches and players to rewatch. I ain't got to rewatch it. I can't fix shit. I'm not coaching. I'm not playing. So if y'all want to rewatch it, more power to you. I'm not going to. I'm moving on to South Florida. And if we are who we think we are, we'll go handle business this Saturday and say this past Saturday was a fluke. If we're not, then we'll lose.
Yeah, for me, guys, starting out, Bubba, I'm going to pitch it to you, and we could talk about this. I think one of the things we've heard on Pirate Radio, on the game 94.3 The Game, all message boards everywhere is the fact of how conservative the offense was. And I was telling Matt when we were in pre-show in the green room about how when I saw that first pass, Bubba, I think it was 11 yards, I'm going, oh, wow, we're opening up. Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. And then I know you can give you're the numbers guy. I know you can give the stats on all that stuff.
Yeah, earlier today, just taking a glance back at the box score, because there had been so much discussion about our first and third downs on offense. Taking a look at the first down play calls, and obviously a whole lot goes into this as far as time, score, field position, all those sorts of things. and the looks that you're expecting to get from the defense, et cetera. But, just on the surface, you had 25 first down plays. We had 10 passes, 15 runs on those 10 pass plays on first down. We were 7 for 10 for 69 yards. The runs, 15 attempts for 45 yards, but even that would not be particularly good. But you had 2 that went for 33 yards, a 24-yarder by Rajay, and then a 9-yarder by Holton, which I believe was a quarterback draw. So the other 13 went for just 12 yards, essentially 1 yard to carry, slightly less. And then 7 of those 13 attempts was for no gain, or were for no gain, or for a loss of a yard or 2. So that says a lot right there. And we really put ourselves in third and long quite a bit, especially in the second half. But, surprisingly, moving on to the third down numbers, we were 7 out of 15 in the game. 3 of those 15 were third and short, which, third and 1 to 3 yards. 4 of those were third and 4 to 6. And then 8 of the 15 were 7+. And in the second half, this is not including 1 out of 3 in overtime, but in the second half, just the third and fourth quarter, we had 5 out of 6 third downs converted, and 2 of those were the touchdown passes. So, and we also converted third downs of 15, 11, and 7 yards. So we did well despite putting ourselves behind the chains.
Yeah, we did, the vertical passing game was working last night. I have no idea why we didn't utilize it more.
That's my Matt. That was my complaint. As you know, I was watching the game in my seats last night, and I'm going, it seemed like every time we were doing the big passes, like to Winstead, and when we were talking about the springtime, about how we were worried about the wide receiver room, now we've got more weapons than ever. It just felt like that we were so committed to the run. We're committed to the run. We're committed to the run. We're committed to the run. I'm like, give what the defense gives you. The wide receivers, the matchups. We had so many mismatches, including with Winstead and C.J. Johnson. There's so many guys, so many weapons.
They took C.J. out of the game last night pretty well.
No, I'm just saying that there's more. What I'm saying is, in the past, that's who we'd be relying on as a big guy like C.J. or maybe Tyler Snead like we had last year. But we still have a lot of weapons this year.
Oh, we definitely have the weapons. And guys, I think when Mike Houston and Donnie got together today, I'm guessing, they were kicking themselves, because the word that really comes to mind when I think of last night is stubborn. We insisted on running the ball into that front. And even though 3 quarters in, it was going nowhere, it was obvious at that point we had to do something different. And we didn't adjust like we needed to. And I'll tell you guys, I think the main problem right now with our running game is that we haven't put anything on film with Holton keeping the ball on read option. So there's absolutely zero threat for Holton to keep the ball on read option. We haven't shown it this year. Yes, he runs the ball occasionally on quarterback draws, but we have not shown read option keeper with Holton Nailers. So if you're a defensive player, if you're a defensive coordinator, guess what? There's no threat of quarterback run.
Right.
Absolutely no threat. So we're just going to tee off on the running back. Rajay was getting hit a lot of times 1 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. No. He had nowhere to go. Very predictable and very stubborn play calling last night.
Yeah, and I don't know how bad our Keaton's back injury was nothing serious. They tried to go vertical with him some last night in the running game, and it didn't work too well. Rajay had some success early running between the tackles, and they adjusted to it. And we, just like you said, Matt, just kept at it. And I'm with you. It was I know coach is all about being tough and being the more physical football team, but sometimes you got to be smart, not worry about being how tough and how physical you are. And, Navy's got a good run defense. They had a good run defense statistically coming into this game. That's not why they've been losing football games. It's been their offense. And we didn't adjust. And, one thing Ryan Jones is one of the best athletes on the football field, no matter both sides of the ball, the other opponent too. There has not been a game yet where we've gotten the ball in Ryan Jones' hands enough. We've got to get the ball into Ryan's hands more. and Calhoun too. We got to take advantage of the tight ends. I mean, yeah, Winstead's a hell of a player. CJ's a hell of a player. I think they did a good job taking CJ out of the game. Jalen Johnson's got some talent, but we got to get the balls to the tight end more.
And Kyle, you remember last year when we were feeding, to your point, we were feeding the ball to Ryan Jones. We were getting it to him on jet sweeps towards the end of the season last year just to get the ball in his hands. And you're 100% right. He's not getting enough touches right now. So that's something that has to be fixed.
Guys, just very quickly, since Kyle, I think Kyle maybe even said this, but as far as Keaton Mitchell, he did go down on that first play of the first offensive possession of the second half there with about 13 minutes to go in the third quarter. Went to the tent, then went to the locker room, did come back out and get on the bike behind our bench. And I think maybe he did go in for one play. But that's the good news that hopefully we'll have Keaton available for South Florida.
Yeah, it looked like lower back. So maybe he was having some back spasms. I don't know, but just I don't know how much difference he would have made. You think maybe if he was able to, Keaton's one of those guys you might stop him all night, and then all of a sudden he breaks one long one. So having him in the game would have made a difference. I have to question. Marlon Gund has shown the ability when he's got a chance to get in the game. Maybe he just hadn't learned the blocking schemes, et cetera, of the offense yet. But while we didn't see him more, while we just put it all on Rajay, when Rajay, from a running standpoint, wasn't having any success, I'm not sure. But
yeah, I was hoping that we would see some touches to Marlon Gunn. And my only guess was just because of his youth and with some of the things that that Coach Houston referenced that they were doing defensively, from a pressure standpoint.
Yeah,
that we were seeing Rajay in there because of his experience as well as him being a little bit bigger back for pass protection purposes. But really appreciate Richard, Craig, Charles, Johnny, Brandon.
Yeah, the Bubba was rolling off the name of people watching here, commenting, and evidently got kicked off. But thanks to all those people. Has anybody posted questions that need to be put up?
Yeah, he's coming back in.
Sorry, but appreciate a lot of folks chiming in tonight on Facebook as well as YouTube. Richard and Charles, Craig, Johnny, Brandon. We'll get to some of their comments momentarily, but let's start off with this one from Richard Allsbrook because this is something that Matt's already commented on. He said Matt called it. He said Navy ran the ball to lull us to sleep, and then big pass plays hurt us. Yes, they did have the 65-yarder for the touchdown that made it 10-10, but a lot of their pass plays actually came when we had them behind the chains because we'd done such a good job stopping their traditional stuff that we had them in 3rd, 8, 9, 10 situations or maybe even longer, and then we didn't do a particularly good job defensively of knowing where the sticks were and played a little bit too soft and allow some if they needed 8, they got 9 or needed 14 and got 15, that kind of thing.
Yeah, speaking of that kind of thing, getting enough yardage. There was a couple times where I thought the spots were horrible. Where there was a 4th down play where they were short and they gave them the first down. There was a 3rd down play where they were short and they gave them the first down.
The 3rd down play that you're referencing, Kyle, I believe that 3rd and 10 was right before the 65-yard touchdown.
That's correct.
Yep. Yeah, you are right. Yeah. And I mean, there was some terrible spots. The officiating last night, and I think the academies get this.
What?
We're playing an academy, Dave, and normally I wouldn't bring it up, but I think the academies get a lot of homer officiating, and I think it's a bunch of crap. I have a lot of respect for the military, just like anybody else, and I'm going to get into another point here in a minute, and just going to segue into that. But call the game down the middle, you ass clowns. If you want to do something for the military, support them. Support them after the game. Don't help them out on the football field. And there was a lot of calls last night that were just any time it was a close call was going to go in Navy's favor. The targeting call was BS. If you're going to call that call, Then you got to call the one on Holton later on in the game they didn't call. That would have been a huge 15-yard penalty in our favor. Huh?
There was 2 of them. What happened is, and Coach Houston talked about it in the press conference, the bottom line is when you see a quarterback slide, then you're supposed not to touch them. That's automatic that they're going to slide to protect themselves. And so what's
and not only that, Dave, here's the thing that shows it was complete and total bull, and that they were trying to benefit Navy. That is the one play where you can review a non-flag. That the replay crew could have stopped play and reviewed that play without a flag being thrown. So that just double shows how bad it was. The fact that Houston was arguing on the sideline, and it still wasn't. It didn't matter. He didn't have to throw the flag there. That could have been reviewed without the flag being thrown to see if it was targeted. I don't know if people realize that, but it could have been. So
yeah, that's another thing. I'm sick and tired of hearing about how there's officials up in the booth. There's people supposedly watching. And I'm going to say this, and I'll get in trouble for saying it. I'm going to say it anyway. I think Mike Oresco needs to resign. He needs to be fired if he can't get better officials. That's total BS last night. When here's the thing. There's enough parity in our league. Navy commissioner is not going for the college football playoffs. So this year, so there's no reason for you to tell your officials to, and maybe he does.
I don't think he tells them. I just think it's the nature of the officials and the respect they have for the military.
We had Matt and Bubba, we had Atlantic Coast Conference officials that gave us better calls in that state game than the damn AAC officials from our own damn conference. And that was one thing that there was a number of things that irked me, but that was one of the things last night when the targeting calls.
Sunbelt officials in the Old Dominion game were better.
Yep, they were. You're right. So I just my feeling is that with the whole Navy situation last night, they definitely Kyle was on something because it was.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to add to that. What you were saying is there's got to be something there because you don't miss. There were obvious calls they missed that it wasn't like, well, it could have gone either way when you have the Holton situation. So what is he supposed to do? He's sliding so he won't get hit, and he's down, and you come and hit him. That's a late hit.
It's targeting. It's a late hit and it's targeting. Yeah. And you can, like I said, that can be reviewed for targeting without the flag being thrown. So it should have been. The spot calls, you're not going to win that argument. Right. It's very hard to get a spot call. Even if you challenge the spot, you might, but not against Navy. And it sells. Another thing to our two things I'm going to bring up to our administration and our marketing department, et cetera. And I brought it up last week. Can we please stop doing a military appreciation day when we play Navy? Can we do it when we play UCF or somebody else? I am not suggesting that we don't do military appreciation. I am suggesting that we stop giving Navy a home field advantage when we play them in Greenville. I mean, let's save Military Appreciation Day for when we're not playing the military. To me, at this point, Navy's our biggest rival in the conference, and we need to start treating it as such. Look, I respect the Navy, and all that stuff in the military in general, but you know what? It's an effing football game, and it's an effing football team. And
they do the same thing for us?
They don't do a Pirate Appreciation Day, so and nor should they. But it's a rivalry. To me, East Carolina Navy is the closest thing we have to a rivalry in this stupid conference, and let's treat it as such going forward, and let's say military appreciation for a different game, and respect those guys, wholeheartedly, and respect how they're going to serve our country once they're finished with their time at the academy. But let's do Military Appreciation Day another day. And another thing, to our marketing department, I feel so bad for that young man that designed those uniforms that were debuted today. I know the plan was to release it today. Sometimes you got to call an audible. Coming off that loss, when the game against Memphis is not until the 15th, just save it. No, if we beat South Florida next week,
that's what I'm saying.
Do it next Sunday. If not, do it the week of the Memphis game.
Yeah.
So I mean, call an audible for that to be released today, and all the negative comments, about who cares about uniforms. And by the way, white helmets did not cost us the football game. The next person that says that should be punched in the mouth. And then I saw some idiot say white. I saw a couple of idiots say white uniforms. Every time we go on the road, we wear white uniforms. You dumbasses. We've won a whole bunch of times. I bet you we win in white uniforms this coming up weekend.
Hey Matt, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I know you very well. You're a hell of a competitor, and I bet there was times in the locker room where you looked at a uniform and you say, "Oh God, we got to win that today. Our ass is going to lose." Did you have that happen?
Not at all. I mean, hey, my big thing was, hey, whatever uniform they give us is not going to really make a difference.
Thank you.
I mean, I would have killed to play in those uniforms those guys had yesterday. I'll tell you that, because I thought they were great looking.
Yeah.
But I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I mean, this whole business with the white helmets, it's so friggin' absurd that we have to listen. It has nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
No.
I mean, I guess there are people that are very superstitious about this kind of thing.
I'm superstitious, Matt, but
I'm not one of them.
not that
I'll
much.
tell you, I'm not one of them. I just, have we lost games with them? Yeah, we have. But I mean, the bottom line is we should have won that game last night, regardless of the
it used to be purple pants until we beat Carolina wearing all purple in 07, and then nobody's mentioned it since. Well, we can't win in purple pants. We can't win in purple. Oh, we can't win in Birmingham. We can't win in Birmingham. And then we did, and nobody says anything about it again.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, people were the same way about the all purple when we got beat 30-0 by Illinois.
that's what I just said. Yeah, purple
I'm
pants.
sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I stepped away for a minute. But, yeah, Matt obviously, unfortunately, remembers that game very well.
Yeah, all purple, and then
Trying
we
to
beat
forget
Carolina in 07.
Yeah, that's what happened that day. He went to the locker room. He saw the all purple. He's like, "Man,
we're gonna lose."
Yeah, we're
gonna lose.
And then people were complaining on the uniforms that the kid designed because the helmets were white. Look, those uniforms,
those look badass.
Those are slick. I mean, those are some slick. They're new, but they look retro. The script pirate on the side, the flying ECU on the front of the helmet.
Yeah.
The pirates. I mean, those uniforms. I would make those our permanent uniforms. Those things are slick.
Yeah, he did a tremendous job. You got to give credit. But to your point, it's a shame that they were released today. I know that was the plan, but it's a shame because it really does take away from the excitement a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, I'm still so focused on the Navy game from last night. Honestly, I didn't really give that the attention I normally would have because I was just so annoyed about the game last night. But he did a great job. I remember we had him on the show. You got to give him props because he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, great job. Couldn't have done any better. I think they're tremendous.
And the white helmets actually. I was skeptical because I'm going white, but I looked at them, last week, and I'm going, and I've seen them. I've obviously seen them before, but I took a closer look, and I was like, these are really cool. Like we don't see them all the time. So sometimes, like I've always wanted, like I say, the retro look, to have a retro uniform, throwback uniform. There you go. Throwback uniforms.
Wow, that's amazing looking.
I love it.
And you could have did the helmet in purple, but it looks slick and white. And when we beat Memphis in those, nobody will say anything else about wearing a white helmet. So, God, I hope we beat Memphis. And please, for the love of God, just so we don't have to hear anything about a white helmet ever again.
Yeah, I want to beat them like 60-0. So that, oh my God, those white uniforms and those white helmets are amazing.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, guys, I'll tell you, to me, just to kind of shift focus back to the Navy game, to me, the story of the night, guys, and there's so many storylines from this game. But the main story to me is the job that Brian Newberry, the defensive coordinator for Navy, did. I don't always say these types of things, but I am blown away by the game plan he put together. Incredibly impressive. The guy did a great job. The way he was able to disguise, and this is where our problems came in last night. Holton was very confused by the multiple looks he was getting. They were doing a great job with pre-snap movement disguising blitzes. They were moving people around all over the field, trying to create confusion. And it's unfortunately, we just didn't adjust to it. And there were adjustments that were there for the taking. There were adjustments that were right there in front of us that we just didn't go to. And we'll touch on those later, what they are. But I gotta say, I was really, really impressed by the job he did. And I think that was the main storyline of the game. He outcoached Donnie Kirkpatrick. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
And
Yeah, Coach. Go ahead, Bubba.
That's saying something with as much football as Holton's played to be able to accomplish that, like you're saying, Matt.
I think it shows that we have too many tendencies that we need to break, that we don't break tendency enough. And I think it also shows the advantage of having 2 weeks to prepare and you're desperate for a win. I think there was a lot of time spent in the film study room. And I think these guys, on they knew they were going to have to win this game with defense because they're not outscoring anybody this year. And they had 2 weeks to prepare for it. And they did a hell of a job scheming up something that really confused our offense. And it worked. Credit to Coach Newberry. Him and Blake Harrell have similar defensive styles. And credit to their defense. You got to be extremely disciplined on defense to execute that defensive game plan. And they were, as you would expect the Naval Academy to be. They're going to give people fits all year on defense. The defense hasn't been their problem this year. It's been offense, and their offense didn't beat us last night. What's so ironic, as I said, that if this team holds Navy to 20 to 23 points, they deserve a standing ovation at the end of the game. And be damned if they didn't do it, but we lost. So what are the odds of that?
Yeah, and I think the problem we have, guys, is that our coaches are still they're for whatever reason they don't realize it's 2022, and we have a lot compared to what we had in 2019. If this is 2019, that game plan is the perfect game plan for last night. We just didn't execute. The problem is it's 2022, and they didn't. We basically played Navy. We were Navy last night, and we should have been East Carolina and opened up the playbook. One of the things of this coaching staff that drives me crazy is I am huge. I love Steve Logan. One of the things I love about Logan, fake field goals, fake punts, trick plays.
We shouldn't have had to do that last night, Dave. I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but we shouldn't have to do it against the Navy. To me, you pull that out when you're playing BYU. I don't. Last night we should have, and like Matt was alluding to, based on their defensive game plan. Well, we should have. Do we have any screenplays in our playbook? I mean,
no. I'm just going to say and jump in. No, we don't. We don't have a single wide receiver screen in the playbook, Kyle. Not one.
I mean, and it looks that way, which is crazy because I know Donnie. When he was here to Lincoln Riley, his Donnie Kirkpatrick's wide receivers blocked on screenplays better than anybody. So I don't understand that. I don't know how much of this I'm going to put on Donnie with the hard-headedness of wanting to run the football so much. And look, I love the running game more than anybody, but I think that's what Mike Houston wants to do. And Mike needs to let Donnie, if that's coming from Mike, and there's nothing. Look, there's a time for that. Old Dominion, for example, or Old Dominion. Well, Old Dominion, but what I was going to say, Campbell's a team that you really can exploit running the ball on, but you got to adjust, and you got to have screenplays in your playbook, and you got to practice them. So while we didn't see them last night, and then what we do know we have is the vertical passing. I don't know. They were playing zone coverage a lot. Why we didn't work the middle of the field to the tight ends more is another thing that I just do not understand. Get the ball, and Ryan Jones needs to have at least 5 to 6 receptions a game. I mean, how many receptions did Jones have last night, Bubba?
I'll check and see. I know he caught that ball in the first play of the game.
Yeah,
and
he had a touchdown catch.
Yeah,
that was it.
No, he had 4. He had 4 for 48.
Okay, well, 48 yards on 4 catches is pretty good. That shows you can't get the
So
ball
far
enough.
this season, he had 4 against State for 22, 3 for 39, 3 for 10, and 4 for 48.
Okay, I'm going to put that on the coaches and on Ehlers both. You got to find Ryan Jones. If you don't start finding, look, if I'm Ryan Jones and I'll start getting more touches, I transfer the hell out of here. I don't know how many years of eligibility he has left.
This is it.
This is it. Well, he ain't going nowhere then. He's got NFL talent, and we got it this week. Starting this week, we don't. He needs to walk into the locker room. He needs to walk into the locker room and slap the shit out of Holton Ahlers or grab Donnie Kirkpatrick by the windpipe or something. He needs to get more touches. Whose ever fault it is he's not getting more touches. Get Ryan Jones the ball. Get him the ball. Good things will happen. I promise you.
The great thing about him, he seems to have, and Bubba, he seems to have really soft hands, really good hands. So when he catches that ball, like it's automatic, he's going to catch it. And then not only that, but then the yards after the catch, like Kyle was saying, I don't know what it was. First we had snoring from
Shut up, Alexa. You're ruining the show.
But Matt, the yards after the catch is something with Jones that, like Kyle said, and guys, adding to what you were saying, Kyle, y'all were watching on TV last night. Bubba and I were at the game. It seemed like Bubba, you're on the opposite side of me. You're on the south side. I'm sorry, on the north side. I'm on the south side. But it seemed right across from me. It seemed like the middle of the field was open all day long. Was that me, or am I imagining that? Like, in other words, like what Kyle was saying with the tight end and like cutting to the middle, and then boom, Ehlers hits him right in the middle. It just seems like that was open all day long. I was screaming.
The only thing I can think of is the pressure. Ehlers wasn't seeing it because they were getting a lot of pressure on him. Yeah. I don't know. You got to find a way to get the ball. And look, by the way, just for anybody gets their panties in a wad or runs and goes hell, I'm not really suggesting that Ryan Jones slap or choke anyone. Okay, I just want to make that clear. It's just me being over dramatic. But you got to get the ball in Calhoun's hands too. They're both playmakers, and I don't understand why you utilize your weapons, man. Utilize your weapons. Yeah. Utilize every weapon you got. The tool, people talk about tools in the toolbox. Those are tools in the toolbox, and if you don't utilize them, they're going to get rusty. Take your tools out of the toolbox and put them to work.
Hey, Bubba, how about the fact there was tons last night? Another thing, speaking of the passing game, I want to get your take being a quarterback. It seemed like there was a ton of mismatches with the height of our receivers. I mean, I know Johnson's more my height, about 6'1", but it seems with C.J. Johnson, I know they did a good job, but you have Winstead. There's a lot of weapons there that, man, I felt like they should have passed the ball more, especially those 10, 15, 20-yard passes we got on it.
They're on that 3rd and goal at the 3-yard line where we had to settle for the field goal, which was we talk about. That's something we have not really addressed that much. In the first half, we had 4 possessions. The other 3 were 4 plays, 10 yards and a punt, 5 plays, 15 yards and a punt, 3 plays, 2 yards and a punt. And then we got the ball back with, 6 seconds or 8 seconds left in the half. And you can't really even count that as a possession. So that possession when we took over at our 1-yard line and drove it 96 yards, only had to settle for 3. Was that frustrating. But that 3rd down call, we were trying to do what you're saying, take advantage of that matchup with Isaiah Winstead, the fade to the right corner of the end zone. And I went back and watched that today. And really looking at it, I think it's a poor route. You kind of started backpedaling, or you maybe turned the wrong way. And it's almost like he was expecting a back shoulder throw or something. But initially, when I saw it live, I thought Holton had just thrown it flat. And he perhaps could have put a little more air under it, but I think the throw was okay. The true fade route is kind of a lost art. You see so much back shoulder, which is great, and it certainly has its place as well. and you see a jump ball, but as far as a true fade route where the football takes the receiver out to the sideline, you know you have him have the defensive back on your hip, and then you fade out to the ball about 8-9 yards deep in the end zone. That's something that you don't see as much as you once did.
Yeah. Do we have any? Do we have anything else from listeners that need to be put up? We got all Richard's comments. He said there was comments from others.
Yeah, your buddy James has a comment.
Okay.
Just one moment. Yeah.
Y'all need to complain to the conference about Navy always having a bye week before they play you guys, and complain to the NCAA about how officials show obvious favoritism to the academies.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think complaining to the NCAA is going to do much, but I do think the bye week before the Naval Academy plays us, that can be stopped immediately, and that has been brought up, and I'm assuming Gilbert has taken those concerns to the conference, and that should be stopped as of next year. I mean, if they give them a bye week before they play us next year, then I don't know. I might just want to go leave the conference and join the Sun Belt at that point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's happened so many times. But guys, I do think that they officiate Navy differently. They're seeing, and listen, I have the utmost respect for the Naval Academy, but this is football we're talking about now. And I do think they're officiated differently. They're considered to be incredibly disciplined, clean cut. There's no way they're going to, commit these penalties and whatnot. There was a massive hold in overtime right before they kicked a field goal, and a massive hold on the perimeter that was right in front of the official that he missed. I couldn't believe it. That would have
miss it, Matt. He didn't miss it.
Yeah, well, it was egregious. It's just unfortunate, but I agree. There were just so many missed calls in that game, and I don't think they called it, equally on both sides.
Hey, and that's that play that you're referencing, Matt, because that field goal that allowed Navy to force the second overtime. It was like a 43-yarder. Was that right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I think it was
way back. Yep.
Yeah, because I think the line of scrimmage was the 26, and it was spotted down on the 33. But yeah, hat tip. I mean, man, that would have been a absolutely huge penalty to force a field goal. Well, I guess
it would have been
it would have remained third down, but
25.
still,
Yeah.
If you hold them, depending on what they do on third down, it's putting them in a situation where they're having to attempt a 53-yarder or whatever, 52-yarder.
Yeah,
that's right.
It would have probably been a difference in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. But just to kind of circle back to what we were talking about before, guys, really quick. I think that getting back to Newberry for a second, he dictated the entire game. He dictated everything we did offensively, and that really bothered me to see, because with the type of athletes we have superior athletes, superior size to Navy. We should not be letting that happen in year 4 with a quarterback with this much experience. And my mindset is, hey, if you want to play your corners 10 to 12 yards off every play, guess what? I'm going to run plays. I'm going to run plays to the perimeter,
Yep.
and I'm going to force your DBs to come up and play press coverage. And then once they do that, you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to take my shots down the field. I'm going to start throwing fades down the field. We let them dictate everything that we did. We never adjusted to it. It was guys, it was maddening to watch those corners so far off the ball, and we never just flipped it wide outside to a wide receiver for just a simple screen. And that really, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's, Kyle made the point. I was talking to Kyle last night. It's just a philosophy. They don't believe in wide receiver screens. That's got to be a Mike Houston thing. But we can't let Navy dictate what we do offensively. We should be so far beyond that in year 4 with the weapons we have. It was sad to see.
Matt, to your point, I think kind of in reverse. I don't think we did let them dictate it. I think we needed to let them dictate it. I think had you, to me, if they're dictating what we do offensively, we adjust to what they're doing, and we do exactly what you said. We were stubborn. We just kept doing what we do, instead of adjusting. To me, if you see what I'm saying, we kind of the reverse. We didn't let them dictate it. We were hard-headed and stubborn and stupid instead of adjusting to what they were doing.
Yeah,
we certainly didn't adjust, and we made it way too easy for them guys. I mean, no motion. There's no motion in this offense. There's no jet sweep action. You know, if you're a linebacker, your eyes are pretty much focused in one spot. There's no threat of read option with the quarterback. And listen, I'm not trying to bang on the offense. We've done some good things offensively this year, but it does have deficiencies, and they came up last night in a big way. We've got to have some more. We got to move the pocket. We need to have some motion. Where's Hatfield on jet sweep action? There's just too many things, too many deficiencies that showed up last night.
We tried to reverse with Hatfield against ODU or Campbell, one of the two. I think it was Campbell. And
a jet sweep and a reverse.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Well, the jet sweep, I went back and watched that play, and we blocked the near threats in that one against Campbell, but then the safety came from about 12 yards and we had no one for him.
Yeah, I really believe that because of the talent we have at O-line this year, that Houston thought because of the talent that we were just going to be able to run it down Navy's throats, despite Navy statistically having a good run defense. And they had 2 weeks to prepare for us, and we didn't run it down anybody's throat. But you got to adjust to that. At some point, you got to adjust. All right, it ain't working. Screw it. Let's throw the ball around. And
that's last year. I know we ran for 160 or 65 against them up there, and I know this is a new year, and we saw things defensively that we did not see last year when we played them in Annapolis. Yeah. But that's something. Last year we started the game extremely efficient offensively, and largely did what we wanted to up there last year with Holton going 27 out of 32 for 405 yards.
Yeah, I think, Bubba, and what I've noticed here is a trend since Mike Houston's been here. I think Mike Houston wants to be something that we just can't quite be. We're never going to quite have the talent for that. And I think it's repetitive every year. Our offense evolves as the year goes on and gets more diverse and better. And I think it's the same thing this year. I think early on, all right, we can finally be what we can be, what we want to be, a physical, hard-nosed, run-the-ball football team that relies on play action. And I think, again, we're going to have to evolve our offense and be more open with it. And, we've done. He's opened it up every year he's been here as the season's gone on, and I expect that to happen. And you'll probably see it this week, and I think you're going to have to. We're going to have to throw the ball more, and we can still run the ball. We'll have some big games running. There'll be plenty of opportunities maybe against South Florida. They're not a great football team, but I think I've seen a lot of people seem to think it's amazing, because we lost to Navy. Now we're going to go 6-6 or 5-7. I still think we have the ability to easily go 8-4. If we open things up, I mean, Cincinnati and BYU. Besides that, I think we're as good as anybody else we play on the schedule. It's going to be a lot of close ball games. We're going to have to learn to win close games, and something else we're going to have to do. And it hasn't been brought up yet. We're going to have to open up kicking competition. I'm sorry, Owen. People have coddled him and patted him on the back and loved him up, and I love Owen too. He's a great kid, but you know what? He's got a job, and his job is to make field goals and extra points. And if he's got in his own head now that he can't make pressure kicks, then you got to open up kick competition, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't give a damn. I'm not. This isn't the Hug Owen show. This is win football games. So Dapper, either get out of your head, realize that you do have the talent. Last year you made a 50-some yard field goal to beat Navy. You got all the talent in the world, kid. Get out of your head, man. Get out of your head and go out there and make the damn kicks. And if you ain't gonna do it, then let the other kicker have a chance. Because it's a win. It's a win business. It's a win game, and I know Owen can do it. Owen has the potential to be a great kicker. He has been a great kicker, but if he ain't going to get out of his own head, then let somebody else have a chance, and maybe that'll get him to get out of his head.
So Kyle, let's take it a step further for a second, because I totally agree with you. And listen, you're not saying anything inappropriate. We're not banging on the kid. We think he's a great kid. We think he has potential. But right now, it's a problem on the football field, and it's costing us games.
I don't.
And
I'll tell you what the.
Here's the thing: what do we have behind him? Do we have anyone? I'll be honest. I have no idea what we have behind him.
There's one guy that's neck and neck with him.
Well, then let him have a chance.
I think there's a freshman. Bubba would know the name, but
is it Lath Margin?
What is it again?
Lath Margin from Raleigh.
Yeah, he's the one. I think he's a freshman, if my memory serves me right.
This is at least his second year in the program.
It's like a redshirt freshman,
at least, and then there's, I believe, another kicker on the roster. I'll double check.
Well, open up the competition in practice and let one of the other kids have a chance. And
I'll tell you that, focusing on Daffer, the problem we have right now that nobody's talking about, and maybe I'm on an island, but nobody's talking about Larson.
I've heard plenty of people.
Okay, good, because I felt like I'm alone. Larson's got to go. He's the one to me that I have
I wouldn't say he's got to go, but I mean, yeah, he's not.
About the competition part.
Yes.
I think Daffer's fine. I think the Larson situation is the one that is.
Well, Larson's holds were fine last night. I paid attention. He had laces, facing the proper way. From a punting standpoint, he ain't blowing nobody away with his punts. That's for sure. Right. Open up that too. I mean, punts are, in practice, you're either the better punter or you're not. I think that's pretty obvious. But I think kicking is not necessarily something you can tell in practice, because a kid may not, Owen may make every kick in practice, but he's in his head. You have somebody else come out there who maybe doesn't perform as well in practice, and he might have ice in his veins come game time. And I'm not suggesting, look, sometimes you just need competition. You need somebody else to rotate them. Let Owen kick, let the other kid kick. I mean, at some point, you got to open it up. And as far as the punting goes, I think punting is pretty much. Bubba, you punted, so you can probably answer this. Nobody's a better punter at practice than they are under the lights. I mean, that's not really. I mean, that should pretty much be the same either way, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure. You got to do it when the lights are on, but
the guys like 30 years old.
I would say that's something that just varies situation to situation.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that we haven't talked about is there's this trend by every coach in America that this everybody's looking for an advantage. That's fine, but to me, this Australian kick, the kickers and all that stuff. Let's just straight up get a guy from wherever. I don't care where he's from that can kick the ball. I don't care if it's Australia, if it's Aden, Australia. I really don't care. I just want a guy that can get like 40, 45 yards every time and be consistent. And this guy, I like him. He's a really nice guy. But he's the one to me right now that if you look back at the state game, if you look just like last night, every time.
I don't know. He didn't cost us the game last night. I mean,
no. I know that, but I'm just saying that's an element of our game that.
No, you're right. I mean, nobody is blown away by our punting game at all, and or his ability to be a holder. Last night, I didn't see him screw up any holds, thankfully. No. But I'm assuming in practice. My point is, we're kicking and punting is different. I'm assuming my assumption, and Bubba said it may not be the case. I could see a kid not looking as good. Owen is clearly the best kicker in practice, but come game time, he's in his head. So you got a kid that maybe doesn't perform as well as Owen in practice that may perform better in a game right now because he hasn't missed a big kick yet. He might have ice water in his veins. To me, punting should pretty much show up in practice the same as it does on game day. Is my point. So
Well,
I don't
well,
know.
here's the question I have for you guys. Now, let's just say we go down to South Florida this week, and let's say we're losing by 1 point.
Oh,
We're on the 35-yard line with about 5 seconds left.
oh,
All right. Are you comfortable?
no.
Because guys, this and we have to talk about this because there's going to come a point in time this season. It could come against Cincinnati. It could come against Houston. He's going to have to kick another game winner. Are you comfortable allowing him to make that kick, or if you're in a situation where, let's just say, it's 4th and 3, 4th and 4, are you more comfortable putting the ball in Hurts' hands?
From the
Because
35, Jimmy
that's just a
Graham-
hypothetical, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like
That's
a
a
clutch.
52-yarder.
Think of it more as a clutch situation. Are you comfortable?
Not
know-
right now. Not right now. You know, I would hate to. I would hate for him to have to be in that situation again right now. Though, you know, maybe on the road, he says he likes the noise. Maybe he would do better. I don't know, but no, I would not be comfortable. To answer your question, I hope we're not in that situation against South Florida. But no, I would not be. I don't think any of us would be.
Here's what I would say is that last year, I know, Bubba, we had to go for it, but I think another way to fix the problem is simply, if it's obviously on the other side of the field, you know, then you once you get to 40, 45 yards, go for it on 4th down. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he does most of the time. I really don't think he puts Daffer in a position. Really, if you look back, Daffer's only been in position to kick really one long field goal, and he made it. The other ones have been mid-range or short. I mean, so, you know, his misses this year against NC State and the one last night in overtime, you know, and I really don't put it on him because to me, we shouldn't have been in that situation.
Yep.
To me, we should have won it regulation. And when you're in overtime and you have that chance to walk it off, you know, you held the team to a field goal, and now you got the ball and you got a chance to walk it off. You got to get in the end zone when you're at home and you got a 5th-year quarterback. You got to get in the end zone. So he shouldn't even been kicking it, but he has to make it. I mean, he has to make it, and he didn't. And like I said, it's time to open up competition and see if somebody else can make it. And I mean, and that's not, you know, like I said, Owen's not any different than anybody else. I don't know why all of a sudden we have to watch Owen's feelings so much versus anybody else on the football team. If you know, nobody, you know, if Keaton Mitchell is putting up more yards than Rajay Harris, nobody's saying, "Oh, but what about Rajay? We gotta make sure Rajay gets carries or his feelings are going to get hurt." I mean, look, I think Owen has all the potential in the world, and he's shown it. He's got to get out of his head. He is in his head right now. He is in his head bigger than crap, and I don't know how he gets out of it.
More, I think if you do the competition, you pretty much are wiping him out.
I disagree. If you're a competitor, then you step up to the challenge.
I think at that point you lost all confidence in him.
Well, then win my confidence back. I don't give a damn if you got confidence in me. I believe in myself. If you don't have confidence in me, screw you. I'm gonna prove you wrong. And if he ain't got that in him, then he don't need to be on the football field.
I don't know. That's my thing. I mean, he's had death threats. He's had a whole bunch of stuff that is totally
that's uncalled for. Death threats is uncalled for. Look, if you're making a death threat to a kicker because he missed a field goal, you need to reevaluate your life. You're a piece of shit. Is what you are. And whoever made that death threat to Owen, you're a piece of shit. And I hope you're watching this, listening to this. You are a POS. But opening up competition, no, I disagree with you. I don't know about Matt and Bubba both played, you know, at high levels. How would y'all react to that, Matt? You know, if you know, how did you react to competition? Did it motivate you, or did you want to go crawl and hide?
Well, I mean, listen, I fought for my life every day when I was in that program. So competition for me always made me want to fight harder. obviously totally different positions. I mean, guys, I spent my first 2 years as Morris Foreman's primary backup.
Yeah.
So I had to fight for my life every day in practice just to get snaps. He was such a great player, but it better bring out the passionate side of you. It better bring out the competitive side. And, I have no problem with opening up the competition. I'll just say this. If we are in that situation again where we're playing for a field goal, set it up in the middle of the field. Let's not put them on the hash.
Ooh, good point.
Run a play to the middle of the field for the love of God, and try to give him a chance where he can kick it from the middle, because the two misses have come from, if I'm not mistaken, the right hash.
Yep.
And that has not worked out so well.
Yeah, it's going to be. By the way, there's another topic I want to bring up because I look at the time and we're close to an hour. But I reached out to my former boss in Raleigh, who's a meteorologist, and
I can handle this for you.
Yeah, that miss last night, that was from the left hash.
Okay.
Yes, it was. I can handle this for you, Dave. Meteorologist Kyle Barber at your service. Hurricane looks like it's probably going to hit the Tampa area midweek. The problem is, if it moves as slow as they say it's going to, there could be severe storm surge and flooding in the Tampa St. Pete area.
100-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, but the storm surge and the flooding may be the bigger issue for as far as the game being played on Saturday. Then you got to look at, if it slows down, if it hits Thursday instead of Wednesday, if it ends up slowing down like it might, and it hits Thursday, it'll be in North Florida Friday when we're traveling. We'll have to travel around it if we're able to get to Tampa. I would hope that there is some conversations being held between Gilbert and their AD right now, and some plans being made. If I'm USF, I'm moving all my football operations right now to Birmingham or somewhere like that.
Yep.
And getting ready to play the game. If you can practice this week in Birmingham, I'm mentioning Birmingham because I know people have utilized it in the past.
Tulane did.
Tulane did, and they have two stadiums there. Even if UAB has a home game, Legion Field is still there.
No.
Well, no, it's still there.
It's there. I just said no.
But so I would I'd move operations.
Away, by the way, they're at Rice.
Say again?
Rice. We can
okay.
play.
Well, great. But I'd move operations to Birmingham, or somewhere. That's just where I would. That's the city that I'm thinking of. And I practice there this week, and I make preparations to play the game in Birmingham, or Memphis or wherever. If I can't make it back to Tampa to play the game, that's how I handle it. If I'm South Florida's AD, then you don't have to worry about East Carolina traveling to Tampa, and your team can practice without being impeded by the storm. We do not have a common bye week, so the only way this game would be made up would be if neither team is playing for the conference championship at the beginning of December. So this game needs to be played this weekend, and the storm will be come and gone out of the Tampa area by then. But the question is, will Raymond James be able to host a football game Saturday? What's the flooding situation going to be like? What's the power situation going to be like? Preparation for USF. And you can always make plans to play that game in Birmingham, practice in Birmingham if you're South Florida. And then if things go well, you can always move it back down to Tampa for Saturday. So that's how I would handle it.
Yeah, let's you got a comment, Bubba?
Yeah, before we take a look at what happened around the American yesterday, besides what transpired in Greenville, something that we really haven't touched on much when we talked about the end of the game scenarios, and something that we had done a good job of, since those first interceptions of the season in the first half against NC State, we had taken care of the football. That fumble that we lost yesterday, that gave Navy the go-ahead score there to go up 17-10. We obviously had thrown the pick as well that cost us a chance to kick a game-winning field goal in regulation. So those two were absolutely huge. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but that's something that we had done a good job of that bit us, because we had all the momentum there, and we were up 10-3. they converted that 3rd and 10, then had the 65-yard touchdown. And then on our first play from scrimmage after that, we fumbled. And then a few plays later, they go up 17-10. So in like 5 minutes of game time, it went from 10-3 to 17-10 Navy.
Yeah, honestly, I thought we had lost the game at that point. So I credit us for coming back and having a chance to win it. But yeah, that fumble was huge. Good call, Bubba. That game, and it's a shame, he hadn't had a fumble all year, and
he didn't fumble all last season. That was Rajay's first fumble since 2020. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's going to happen. Rajay and Keaton do an unbelievable job taking care of the football.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't even make it an issue because
no.
You don't want him to get in his head. That's one fumble. Don't worry about it. Move on.
Well,
if it becomes
part of
a
that
trend,
the predictable. Not to cut you off, Kyle. Just to comment really quick. The predictability factor really caused that play to get blown up completely. And he got the ball. So, just another. Again, I'll let you get back to your point, but just another example of how we were so predictable. Newberry knew that play was coming before we even called it. It seemed like. So that had a big effect on it.
That's a good point, Matt. Yeah, that's a great point. That's the reason the play was blown up. And still, you got to hold them to the football. But if I'm the coaching staff, I do not make a big deal out of that. Just let it go.
Yeah, to Matt's point, as far as in the fourth quarter, we had 6 first down plays, and 4 of those were to Rajay, and 3 of them were for no gain.
You got to break tendency. You're not breaking tendency at all.
But moving on from that, we don't want to beat a dead horse. What's done is done, and I'm sure we'll make corrections and do what we need to do for the South Florida game. But taking a look around the American guys very quickly, TCU, you had the battle for the Iron Skillet taking place out in Dallas, and TCU and Sonny Dykes and defeated Coach Dykes' former team, Rhett Lashley and the Mustangs, 42-34. Then you had Louisville. They were all over South Florida, 41-3 at Louisville. Temple defeated UMass 28-0. Cincinnati beat Indiana 45-24. Memphis won at the Liberty Bowl against North Texas, a future AAC member, 44-34. UCF defeated Georgia Tech. It's only a matter of time before Jeff Collins' era there in Atlanta will come to an end.
I read today it's over.
Yeah, okay. So I knew Johnny Gardner had texted me saying that don't be surprised if it happens today. Tulsa went to Oxford, gave Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin's Rebels a battle, but fell 35-27 to number 16 Ole Miss. Rice and Houston, that was quite a game, but Dana Holgerson and the Cougars were able to pull that one out 34-27. And how about Southern Miss going to New Orleans and taking down 3-0 Tulane 27-24, a huge win for Will Hall and the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, I talked to James earlier, who posted earlier. He's a big Golden Eagle. And I talked to him last night and congratulated him on the win. He was like, acting like it wasn't that big of a deal. And said, I thought Tulane was over. I was like, dude, it's a huge win. I didn't think Kansas State's that good. And then about 15 minutes later, Kansas State beats Oklahoma. So, so I was like, okay, James, you think it's a big win now? But it was a huge win for Southern Miss. Their biggest win in years since 2019 against UAB, I believe, when UAB won the conference that year, Conference USA. So Golden Eagles 2-2 on the year, could easily be 3-1. They should have beat Liberty.
Now he's talking about bringing home the bell.
Bringing home, that's right. You brought home the victory bell. So it could easily be 3-1. They're 2-2, and Southern Miss football is on the way back up. Who knows? We may see them in a bowl game at some point.
And then Johnny Robertson chimes in regarding that Tulsa Ole Miss game, and that Tulsa fell 35-27, saying that Tulsa was up 14-7 before Davis Brin was injured, and he has 12 touchdowns and 1 pick, and has thrown for over 1,300 yards. So hopefully that young man will be okay and able to bounce back for the Golden Hurricane.
How about Conference USA, the remaining schools in Conference USA? They did themselves some favors this weekend for what will be Conference USA 3.0, 4.0, whatever version of Conference USA is going to be. Middle Tennessee with a dominant performance over the Miami Hurricanes, and UTEP with a dominant performance over Boise State. That the Conference USA desperately needed some positive press for the schools that are remaining in that league, and so good for CUSA version 80 for Middle and UTEP to get those wins.
Yeah,
Where
and I have a
come
quote.
from? The
Have a
fact that
quote from Middle Tennessee's Rick Stockstill about that 45-31 win down in Miami. He said, "It's always fun to do stuff no one thinks you can do. Coming down here, 26-point dogs and kicking their butt like we did, because it was a butt kicking. There was no fluke to this. We were the tougher team here tonight."
Yeah, and Matt, I don't know what you're about to say, so go ahead, Matt. You can say what you're going to say, and I got a point I want to make.
I just, guys, I mean, that is an incredible upset. There's nobody out there that could have predicted that was going to happen. And
either one of those.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely unbelievable. That was a total shocker, to say the least. So if you're Miami right now, I mean, that coach, he's got to be under some serious fire. Cristobal, I mean, that's just not a good start for him. And then one thing about the Boise loss, I don't know if you guys saw, they fired their offensive coordinator.
I don't blame them.
The day after the game. I mean, you talk about an administration not being happy with that loss to UTEP.
Yeah, I think the head coach will be fired at the end of the year. But by the way, speaking of Middle, and to make this point, how good is James Madison in their first year of FBS? Middle has not. Middle's played well ever since James Madison blew them out. And then yesterday, JMU goes to Boone and comes back and beats App like they've.
Down
JMU may go
28-3 in the second half, and then come back and win 32-28.
Is JMU still undefeated? I mean, could they go undefeated their first year of FBS? Yeah, I don't think they're eligible for the Sun Belt Championship or bowl game. Well, that is the stupidest rule.
And
very bad rule.
If you can move up from FCS to FBS and win a conference and go undefeated in your first year and make a bowl game, why couldn't you be allowed? It's not like you're moving down, you're moving up. Why shouldn't you be allowed to participate in the postseason? It's idiotic.
Hey, and to provide a little more color as far as what you were saying about JMU having defeated that same Middle Tennessee team that went to Miami and won 45-31 over the Canes in JMU's first FBS game, with that win 44-7 over Middle Tennessee, and they outgained the Blue Raiders in that game 548-125.
Yeah, and Middle's played pretty well ever since that game. I know they had a win over Colorado State. I know they beat Miami. I don't know what their other game was. They may be 3-1. At worst, they're 2-2. So JMU is kicking ass and taking names.
And James chimes in saying that the JMU hosts Marshall for homecoming and Coastal the final game of the year. So quite the home schedule for the Dukes.
Yeah, and again, they need to petition the NCAA now to allow them to play in a bowl game. I mean, that rule needs to be changed. That's a dumb rule.
Very dumb.
Just think of the logic behind that. You're moving up. Right. So if you're able to do that in your first year, hell, give them 2 bowls.
That was my point, is that most of the time you would not expect a team to be good when they move up. And the fact, like App State, what was that, Bubba, 2013, 2014, when App moved up and they couldn't play in a bowl? It was so ridiculous.
Their first year they moved up, they weren't very good.
They were bowl eligible.
Were they bowl eligible their first year? For some reason, I didn't think they were bowl eligible their first year. Maybe they were.
But they couldn't play. So that's stupid. That's where I really, not that I'm an App State fan, but I felt bad for them because I felt like they should be able to.
Well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're moving down from FBS to FCS, I can see the rule not to make the playoffs, but the other way around, it doesn't make any sense.
No doubt.
Yeah, it was 14 that they moved up, and in 2014 they were 7-5.
Okay. Hey, did you guys see the Stephen F?
I think you're thinking, Kyle. You're thinking. I think it was maybe that 2012 team that we beat. It was one of those years, like 2012 or 2013, that they were 4-8.
It was 2012. Did you guys see the Stephen F. Austin score?
Oh yeah, 98-0.
Yeah, that somebody had the genius idea
Wagner.
to play a barely NAIA school against a pretty good FCS program, and they won 98-0. And
They kneeled instead of doing the 2-point conversion.
yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, well, they could have just kicked the extra point, but anyway, they took a knee. I don't. I guess that NAIA school needed the payday, but good God Almighty, that's bad.
Really?
I don't know how do you recover from that? If you're that school, I mean, how do you get your kids mentally ready for the next week?
You just take the paycheck and move on, I guess.
A few notes from around the nation, or region in this case. Taking a look in the ACC, what a game that was in Winston-Salem. I was following that one on my way to Greenville. Number 5 Clemson defeating number 21 Wake Forest 51-45 in overtime, and that was back and forth throughout, with deep ball after deep ball and just a ton of offensive fireworks.
And then they got conservative in overtime for some reason.
Yeah, started running it more, and then
that sounds familiar.
The commentators were talking about that as well. Notre Dame. You knew sooner or later North Carolina's defensive issues would catch up to them. Notre Dame was victorious in Chapel Hill, 45-32, and then Florida State. I know Boston College isn't very good, but Florida State handled their business, 44-14 over BC in Tallahassee. And we'll see in the month of October exactly how for real the Florida State Seminoles are under Mike Norvell. They're 4-0, and listen to their schedule in October. The first 3 weeks of October, Wake Forest comes to Tallahassee, at NC State, and then they have Clemson coming to Tallahassee. So we'll find out whether the Seminoles are for real or not. Not necessarily winning those games, but how they compete in all those.
Yeah, it's a good question. Are they going to be I think they're pretty good regardless, but are they 8-4 good, or are they good enough to win the ACC title?
Yeah, I mean, the question remains to be seen. We'll see. Norvell is definitely good. And Ron James, good old James, says Marshall's lost 2 since beating Notre Dame.
Yeah, the Bowling Green game was when they lost in overtime. They had a big lead in that game and blew it. Bowling Green came back and beat them. And then I guess they lost to Troy this week. So Troy's a pretty good team.
Yeah, pretty impressive by Troy after losing on that Hail Mary at App State to bounce back and with a quality win like that over Marshall, and especially holding them to 7 points.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That coach at Marshall, I think he's good in big. I think he can get his team motivated for big games. I don't think he's a very good coach overall. They're going to get tired of that crap. Winning a huge game, then losing several in a row. I don't know. That's an interesting situation in Huntington, and I think you look around. It ain't just East Carolina. You look. We're 2-2. App's 2-2. Marshall is 2-2 now. So it ain't just the Pirates. There's a lot of parity, and I don't think the Navy game had so much to do with parity, but there's a lot of parity in college football this year.
No doubt about it. It's going to be interesting to see. Do you guys have anything before we go? I know we're running a little long tonight.
Nah, I would pay attention tomorrow and Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised to see an announcement on that South Florida game with USF moving operations out of Tampa for this week and perhaps having an alternate location if need be for that game.
I agree with you 1,000%, Kyle. In fact, we've been through it so many times in Eastern North Carolina. It's not the wind damage, it's the flooding like you talked about. That's going to be probably
the storm surge in their case. Not necessarily just flooding rains. There could be some storm surge issues.
The only thing I have left, Dave, is Kyle referenced that upset, K-State going to Norman, winning 41-34. How about the other upset? It was a very mild upset, but it's one I mentioned last week. Texas Tech 37, Texas 34, taking down number 22 Texas. They're in Lubbock, and I sent it to y'all earlier today. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but what Joey McGuire, new head coach for the Red Raiders, said in the locker room following the game, that was awesome.
Unfortunately, the only bad thing about that one is the resume builder for NC State. But you know what? State's going to have to handle their business for it to matter.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's going to be. I'll tell you one thing: go out there and play a great game, and open up the playbook, and that's my thing. And we have to forget about Navy. And like you got, Kyle, you made one of the points I was going to make tonight, and that is we say it for the last 3-4 years, the Houston era, to open up the playbook. And there's always one game. Maybe that'll be on Saturday night at 7:00, and we'll see if it's going to be like we said in Tampa. If not, we'll find out where it'll be. And by the way, Bubba, before we go, we want to mention all our great programming we have on here on TSO. Well, in fact, Monday nights, Absolute Empowerment with Coach Jeff Connors, doing a great show. Tuesday, we'll obviously be previewing the very game we've been talking about, the South Florida game. We'll have more information. We'll see if I know Richard, different people have said tonight, making comments, moving to Greenville. I don't think they'll do that.
No, that's not going to happen.
That would be 5 straight home games for us. Wednesday, Pirate Breakdown, of course, with Sutton Young, Sonny, and Semenza. We have the Inside Slant on Thursday. Look at college football. And, of course, Friday's A Pirate's Life for me. Saturday, Sounds from the Stadium. And then on Sunday, what you're watching right now, Pirate Football Playback, brought to you by L&K Custom Homes. And we want to thank Kevin. Again, Kevin Walker, good old KK. We appreciate him very much for his support of the program. And, of course, we have Porky's Backyard Barbecue. Want to thank them and PGX Gloves. And by the way, Kyle, tell everybody what's so great about PGXGloves.com.
Well, PGXGloves.com, you can get custom gloves for your children for whatever sport they play, baseball, softball, football, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe you're a golfer and you want your own custom gloves. And if you put in promo code ECU, you save yourself 25% at checkout. So put that promo code in, save yourself some money.
All right. Appreciate the support of the program. Appreciate all our viewers, listeners. You guys ladies are the best. Appreciate it so much. All right. For Kyle, Matt, Bubba, I'm Dave Richmond. And as always, good night, everybody, and go Pirates.
You've been watching the Pirate Football Playback on the Sports Objective. Join us next Sunday night on our YouTube channel and Facebook Live as we talk East Carolina football. Follow us on social media at The Sports OBJ on Twitter and TikTok, at The Sports Objective on Instagram. Please like and follow our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate you listening to the show. Go Pirates!